YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back after day 2 of the NFL draft. A lot of steals on day 2, and I do this every year, even before it was on YouTube. And I don't think I've seen as many steals. A+ grades I would give out. Usually there's, only a few, but since teams were overdrafting needs, reaching for players, a lot of teams ended up with some steals, some first round talent here on day 2 of the draft. So basically, what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go real quick, go through every pick in order, just to recap a little bit, and then I'll get the nice graphics up there for you guys of my top 3 best picks. Hard to narrow it down to 3. Top 3 best picks of the day, and then top 3 winners of the day, so kind of combining each team's picks, who is the biggest winners. So let's recap it real quick here. So starting at the top, it was Byron Murphy. We kind of expected that going into the day. I thought he would go late first, but this is kind of the range he should go with the grade I gave him. So understood. Greedy Williams was my number 1 corner, though. And a lot of corners came off the board, which was kind of surprising that Greedy was still left on the board. Rock Ya-Sin, who got some first-round buzz, went to the Colts. Solid corner there. The Jags get JaJuan Taylor, who was my number 6 overall player on the draft, but there was some knee concerns. But he was at the draft. Seemed fine to me. The Jags help out Nick Foles with the right tackle, which they definitely needed there. The Niners take Deebo Samuel, one of the safer receivers in the draft. There was some other receivers that may have been graded better for me. They have more upside, but some risk. Samuel doesn't have much risk there. Panthers at 5, Greg Little. We kind of talked about this leading up to the draft, that the Panthers were pretty interested in Greg Little. They've had several meetings and workouts with him, so they traded up a little bit to get him. The Bills traded up a little bit to get Cody Ford, who had a first-round grade on. I was surprised to see him in the second round get Josh Allen some protection. Buccaneers got one of my favorite players in the draft, and Sean Bunting, but at the same time, him being my favorite player, one of my favorite players, I didn't think he would actually go this high, but I still like him, like the pick here for the Buccaneers at 7. Raiders kept trading back, and they got Trayvon Mullen, the cornerback from Clemson. So the Raiders like Clemson guys, I guess. They got Cleveland Farrell in the first, and they got Josh Jacobs from Alabama, who the Clemson played in the national championship. So Trayvon Mullen, pretty good corner here for the Raiders at 8, which they needed. The Broncos get 2 picks back-to-back. They get Dalton Risner, and they get Drew Lock, 2 guys that really we thought would be in the first round. Wouldn't have shocked me that if Dalton Risner was in the second round before the draft started, and then seeing how it played out. But so 2 very solid picks back-to-back here for the Broncos. Drew Lock was very surprised he was here. So that's impressive. And we knew he was kind of a fit with the Broncos, but we were kind of thinking round 1, and they get him in round 2, so pretty impressive. The Lions get Jelani Tavai. Pretty surprising pick. Really the first surprising pick of the night here. He was getting a lot of buzz leading up to the draft, but kind of as a possible third-round player. To me, I thought he was going to go 4th or 5th. He did have an off-the-field issue and did have an injury at one point, but a pretty good player. So Lions get a guy that fits their defense there. The Packers get Elgton Jenkins, center/guard from Mississippi State. I think he played guard right away for them, actually, so I think that's a pretty good pick. The Patriots get Joejuan Williams, cornerback Vanderbilt. I like Joejuan Williams a lot, his length. He's very good in coverage, so the Patriots get much-needed depth, a future starting corner for them. Probably early on in his career, I'd say in year 2, he should be the starter. The Browns get my number 1 corner in the draft in Greedy Williams. Tremendous value here. He dropped a little bit. I really couldn't tell you why. Some teams didn't like his tackling, but it really wasn't his ability to tackle. Sometimes he just didn't want to go tackle. So sometimes, guys are just trying to protect themselves going to the NFL, and we see them start to pick it up. So I was kind of assuming it was, that, but it's a little risky. But he's a very good cornerback, a lot of potential, a lot of upside, very athletic, and already has the production. So I like Greedy Williams here. Pretty surprising he dropped, but you can say that for a lot of these players. If you look at my big board, some of these are just absolute steals. Seahawks, I thought reached a bit for Marquise Blair, the safety from Utah. Mainly played in the box. He's a good box player, good football player. He's not really a true safety to me, but if he does play safety, he'll be at strong safety for the Seahawks. Saints go Eric McCoy. I like him at center or guard for them, but yeah, they picked up Nick Easton from Minnesota. From the Vikings there, so McCoy can actually replace him right away, but they did pay Easton some money. But I do like McCoy. I had early second-round grade on him. Could have went first possibly too. Ben Benogu, edge rusher from TCU. I thought he would go third, so maybe a little early, not a big deal. He's a good pass rusher, but, slight concern that does he fit? The Colts have a bunch of guys that are kind of, they can fit a 4-3 or a 3-4 and they make it work. But I thought he was a speed rusher and a 3-4, so we'll see how that works out. They do have Justin Houston in there too, so that's a good guy to learn from. The Vikings go Irv Smith, tight end from Alabama. Not one we've seen in mocks a lot. The Vikings were, it seemed like, high because of meetings and workouts on Sternberger. I'm assuming they didn't expect Irv Smith to be there, so they went with Irv Smith to pair with Kyle Rudolph and David Morgan. The Titans go A.J. Brown. This was a steal too. One of my top receivers in the draft. Couldn't believe he went this far into the second round. So, he can do it all. I think it's a good pairing with Mariota. The Bengals reach a bit for Drew Sample. There's a lot to like about Sample, but not really. I didn't think even on day 2. I thought somewhere in day 3. He's very good blocking tight end. Washington seems to be having some good tight ends over the years, but pretty early there. This one was early as well for me. Miles Sanders, I wasn't super high on him like everyone else. The 5 fumbles is concerning to me. Pretty good running back, but again, running back, where do you value the position? I think you can wait just a little longer. The Texans with 2 picks in a row. I like the Lonnie Johnson one, not so much the Max Sharping one. I was more around 4 for Max Sharping. The Chiefs go Mecole Hardman, probably the closest thing you can get to Tyreek Hill, as I predicted in my mock draft earlier today. So that tells us a lot, and it definitely, kind of revamps that position, that exact position there. So that's pretty cool pick, I guess. If you had to get the replacement, at least somebody was there that is pretty close to that. The Eagles take J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. There was a lot of receivers on the board of this similar type that people were passing on. So I was surprised the Eagles went with Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf and Hakeem Butler. But Whiteside is a very good receiver, so the Eagles get a solid one there. The Cowboys go Tristan Hill. I was surprised with all the safeties on the board, but at the same time, I shouldn't be. The Cowboys front office was pretty much hyping up that they need safety. It could have been smoke. They probably have a plan, to do something a little later than this point here, is what I'm saying to myself when they're after they made the Tristan Hill pick. But Tristan Hill's got upside if he's in the right position, which I don't know if he was at Central Florida. Colts take Paris Campbell, definitely a weapon. Some really good receivers on the board still, but Paris Campbell right there with them, definitely a weapon with T.Y. Hilton in that offense. Chargers go Nasir Adderley, playmaker from Delaware. Pair him with Derwin James, should be pretty fun. The Rams take Taylor Rapp, the safety from Washington, my number one safety in the draft. Super instinctive. That's really the number one thing I look for when looking at defensive players. Are they instinctive? Taylor Rapp is. Cardinals take Andy Isabella with the Dolphins pick in the trade with Josh Rosen. Actually had mocks earlier in the week with pretty much the exact trade happening. Pat myself on the back a little bit there, but second and fifth is what I had, and that ended up being what it was. So good for the Dolphins for trading back and gaining picks, not giving the Cardinals tremendous value there. So good for them. Gained a pick next year, I believe, too. Chiefs get Juan Thornhill, my number 2 safety in the draft. Can play safety, can play corner, can play in the box. He does it all at a high level. A lot of these guys, like I talk about, just play better in the box or somewhere. He plays pretty much the same level at all those positions. So I like that for the Chiefs to pair with Matthew. Seahawks go DK Metcalf, who I had way up on my board there. So pretty impressive. People were starting to rip him because he's dropping because he's just not good enough. He can't run routes. But I think it was, the injuries. He did miss plenty of games over the years, really. But, let's see if get him in the NFL program, see if we can keep him healthy here. But he's a darn good receiver. Doesn't have a big route tree, but he has the athletic ability to create more. And with Russell Wilson, that should be a lot of fun. So that's the second round. Let's run through the third round real quick before we get to my biggest winners. Zach Allen, a little surprising to me. I think he's going to play 3-4 end. Does he have the strength for that, though? He doesn't have the athletic ability for 4-3 end, but does he have the strength for 3-4 end? That's why I really wasn't a huge fan of Zach Allen. So we'll see. I wasn't really expecting that pick from the Cardinals. The Steelers take Deontay Johnson. Yeah, there was some really good receivers still on the board, but they wanted one that specifically like Deontay Johnson, and there's really not one like him in this draft. I call him a poor man Stephon Diggs, so I think that's a pretty good comparison. So that's the type of receiver they wanted. I do like him. Was surprised maybe a tiny bit early, but I do like him. Jalen Hurd I like too, but I was a little surprised how early it was. Not super early, but And I'm surprised that the Niners grabbed Debo and Hurd, but I do like that. A pretty good receiver duo to throw in there for Jimmy G. The Jets grabbed Ja'Kai Polite. He has first-round pass rush abilities. He needs to put more together, needs to stay healthy, needs to help in the run game a little more. And then his attitude, I heard the meetings didn't go super well, but you potentially have a first-round talent here from the Jets, so this is a very good pick. The Jaguars get Josh Oliver, tight end from San Jose State. I like Josh Oliver a lot. It was kind of like borderline 3 or 4 for him. So I'm not in love with this pick, but I did like him, and it could be the Zach Ertz for Nick Foles. The Rams take Darrell Henderson, my number 2 running back in the draft here, the 6th pick in the 3rd round. They definitely needed our running back with Todd Gurley with a knee situation, so they needed one, and this guy's a home run hitter too. Broncos grab Draymond Jones, defensive tackle from Ohio State, at pick 8 in the 3rd round. He could have been a 2nd-round pick. I was thinking late 2nd, early 3rd, so it's a pretty solid pick there. The Bengals take maybe my favorite player in the draft, and Jermaine Pratt. Nobody is talking about this guy, big-time sleeper, and that's what makes him my favorite player in the draft. Used to be a free safety, switched to linebacker, and was all over the field, really. No weaknesses, could shed blocks a little better, can cover, can get pressure, tackling machine. The Bengals got a good one here. The Bears go David Montgomery. They had to trade up to do so to get their running back. So Jordan Howard's gone. They get David Montgomery. So it kind of felt like the replacement there, which I thought Mike Davis might be that because they don't really want to use that style all that much. Montgomery's going to be a little shiftier than Jordan Howard maybe. I thought Darrell Henderson would have been the grade A, but David Montgomery's a solid running back there for the Bears to work in with that unit. The Bills go Devin Singletary. I wasn't super high on Devin Singletary. Once he's past the hole in open field, he's excellent, one of the best. But to me, step one is getting to the hole. He bounces around a little too much, wants to bounce everything outside, but I guess they're trying to look for that weapon that they can use in multiple different ways. The Packers take Sternberger, was a possible 2nd rounder. Pretty solid pick for the Packers there. We thought they could take a tight end in the 1st. The Redskins get Terry McLaurin, Dwayne Haskins' teammate, to pair with them. Love that for the Redskins. Redskins doing a great job in this draft. The Patriots go Chase Winovich, a Michigan guy, edge rusher. Thought he fit 3-4 a little better, but the Patriots, they're the Patriots. They'll make it work. Michael Dieter to the Dolphins. Can't give the Dolphins more. I got to give them more credit for the Josh Rosen trade too, how they gained the next year pick too on top of it. So good for them. The Rams take David Long, cornerback from Michigan. He'll play in the slot with them, so they have 2 outside corners starting already, and they have Roby Coleman in the slot, and Long will be a rotation guy. You can never have enough of those guys. They're constantly rotating in, especially in those types of defense. Sion Taki to the Browns. I liked him a lot. He was a sleeper for me, but I didn't think he would go this early, but it's kind of growing on me. Even though it was early, he's a do-it-all. He's a do-it-all linebacker, and I want him to go to a 4-3 team. It kind of reminds me of Anthony Barr a little bit, a little smaller. But poor man's Anthony Barr will say, but he's going to blitz, he's going to cover. So that's what it reminded me of. I really like him in the Browns defense. He'll be a weapon. The Lions go Will Harris, the safety from Boston College. I like him at strong safety. Titans go Nate Davis. They needed a guard. They got the Charlotte guard there. The Steelers grab the lengthy corner, former receiver, now corner, and Justin Lane. Solid picks, the ones I'm rattling off here. I'm just trying to get to my big winners and losers. Can't wait to do that. Kalen Saunders to the Chiefs. Very athletic defensive lineman. They needed a guy that can move around, a lot in that defensive lineman. On the defensive line, do many different things. Ravens take Jalen Ferguson. I knew from the interviews and the meetings they liked Ferguson a lot. I just didn't think they were going to be able to get him down here in 3. Kahali Waring from San Diego State is the tight end the Texans take. So another tight end. They like to get, mid-round tight ends, it seems like. So solid one here. Damian Harris to the Patriots. Another running back. A solid one, but was surprised they took another running back. Seahawks grab another Utah defensive player. Cody Barton was getting some buzz, maybe a little early for them. The Colts grab Bobby Okereke, a linebacker from Stanford. There's some really good linebackers on the board still, but I do like Okereke. Connor McGovern to the Cowboys. They have bigger needs, but McGovern pretty good at this point. I was a little surprised by the Trey Pipkins pick, a little early, but he has some upside. Chuma Odego, I say this name wrong every time. The Jets grab him, the tackle from USC. And, I like him in the 3rd round. He definitely can play tackle, help him out right away. We'll see if he starts. Ravens take Miles Boykin, wide receiver, Notre Dame. I like him. I really, really like the pair with Marquise Brown. 2 different receivers. That's going to be fun. Lamar Jackson with Marquise Brown and Miles Boykin. That's going to be a lot of fun. Jamel Dean, Tampa Bay takes the second corner they took on the day. It felt like they just did the same thing last year with Carlton Davis, and they did the same thing last year basically. So strange, but they're getting the secondary ready to go here. The Giants take O'Shane Ximenez from Old Dominion, and pretty good value pick here too. I thought he could possibly go into second. I think he fits, so they get their pass rush here. That's pretty good. Bills take Dawson Knox, tight end, Ole Miss. I like that pick. Bobby Evans to the Rams, another Oklahoma offensive lineman off the board. The Jags take Quincy Williams, linebacker / safety from Murray State. I didn't have him ranked actually, and it was funny because I was saying that, and then all of a sudden DJ and NFL Network, Daniel Jeremiah, was saying he has 400 players ranked, and he doesn't have them ranked. So it's very similar to me there. But, apparently he's a high motor guy, and he's actually Quinton Williams' brother, which I didn't know he had a brother in the draft. So that's interesting. The Buccaneers take Mike Edwards. So, again, going with the secondary. Strong safety from Kentucky. Can also, I thought he could possibly switch to corner or go play in the slot. So, very interesting. Panthers take Will Grier, which is very interesting. The quarterback from West Virginia. A lot of upside from him, but not ready to play yet. But can he play if Cam is not ready to go? I expect Cam ready to go, but with the whole injury. The Patriots get Yodny Kajus, tackle from West Virginia. I thought he would have went a little higher, but he had that injury at the end of the year. But some upside there. And the Vikings traded back about 1,000 times and then took Alexander Madison, the running back from Boise State. He was one of my sleepers, if you remember from my running back video. I guess much shorter version of Derrick Henry. The way he runs, it reminds me of Derrick Henry a little bit. So I think a good replacement. The best running back on the board at the point for me was Travion Williams, but they already got that style in Dalvin Cook, obviously. So they needed a Latavius Murray replacement in Madison. So I like that. So let's go on to my 3 best single picks of the draft. And it was very, very hard to single out 3. There's more A pluses than just the 3. And it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be like that, but teams are reaching for reaching for other players. So these guys fall. Well, let's give one here to the Titans. They get an A+, and they're my number 3 best pick on day 2, A.J. Brown to the Titans. I think it's a very good fit, too. That's what I really like about it. I had 4 receivers easily graded in the first round, and he was one of them. So it's something they needed. They've been lacking this. They've had decent receivers, and they signed Humphreys, but they need this guy. He really can do it all. To me, he's a safe pick. People worry about Ole Miss receivers. To me, this one's a safe pick. So I like him to the Titans as the 3rd best single pick on day 2. And then there's his teammate, DK Metcalf, gets the second one. There's so much upside here where it's totally worth the risk to me, even though it's still round 2 at pick 64. Him with Russell Wilson, they have not had a receiver like this. I'm saying the same things for the Titans, but they haven't really had a receiver like this. And this is a sideline receiver down the field. I mean, he can eventually develop more. But not just down the field, the comebacks too. So, and he's super athletic. You don't see a freakish size guy with that much, athletic ability. So Russell Wilson with a guy like this, it's about time they can pair Russell Wilson with somebody like this together. So I really like it. Really like the upside if he stays healthy. If he is a bust, there's a lot of people that want to label him a bust. It's because he's hurt. So that's really the only reason for me. Let's see if he can stay healthy. I like the pick. And then number 1 is going to be the Jags taking JaJuan Taylor, my number 6 overall player in the draft. Yeah, there was concerns about his knee. I'm not concerned about it. Seems to be okay to me. But, yeah, again, my number 6 overall player. I actually continuously mocked the Jaguars at 7 overall, JaJuan Taylor. And they get him at 35. That's the best part about this. And they needed a right tackle. And they got it. And they could not pass on Josh Allen on the first, but that really has nothing to do with day 2 winners here. But he's still the best pick of the day. Very impressive pick for the Jags. They had to trade up to get him. So 3 biggest, and let me give you some honorable mentions because there's so many of them. The Broncos taking Drew Lock, the Browns taking Greedy Williams. Like some of these, how are they not top 3? It's just because the ridiculous amount of talent still left. The Bills taking Cody Ford, the Rams taking Taylor Rapp, and the Bengals taking my sleeper of the draft, Jermaine Pratt. All right, now on to the 3 biggest winners on the day when you combine their whole draft. Number 3 is going to be the Chiefs for me. They get McCole Hardman, who is the ultimate Tyreek Hill replacement. He's not Tyreek Hill in terms of that much talent and that much impact, but this guy will have a better pro career than college. So it's pretty much the perfect situation. It was a very, disappointing time for the Chiefs and the Chiefs fans with Tyreek Hill and what's about to happen. but it's some upside here. And they get Juan Thornhill as my second best safety in the class, and he probably would have been a top 5 corner if he was listed at corner. And we're talking box players. He's right there with Jonathan Abram. So you get pretty much everything you need here, the Chiefs need, but mainly you're pairing him with Tyrann Mathieu, and that is excellent here. And they get Kalen Saunders too, the defensive lineman from Western Illinois, and he's really a do-it-all. He's built like a nose tackle, but he moves. I was gonna say like a defensive tackle, but no, it's more than that. He almost moves like a strength pass rusher. So he really can do it all. That's the type of guy they need on there because they need. I guess they're getting a 2-for-1 out of him down there. So it's definitely what they need. So they get a pretty good haul here at number 3. Number 2 is going to be the LA Rams, 4 players. And it's not because of the 4 players. It's because the players they got here. Taylor Rapp was my number 1 safety in the draft. Instincts is what I said I look for first in defensive players. Mainly looking at the linebacker and the safety position. Taylor Rapp has instincts. You see him play free safety, deep center field, and coming up in the box when he knows the plays. In the backfield, he can blitz. He can do everything. He can do everything. Tackling machine too. Doesn't miss a lot of tackles. He's a playmaker and pass deflections. I like Taylor Rapp a lot. He was my number 1 safety. I had a first-round grade on him. The instincts really stand out. Great pick there. They take Darrell Henderson, my number 2 running back in the draft, and I thought it was a big need to get this type of running back. The home run hitter, the speedy guy, great vision, hits the hole. I thought he was a landslide number 2 running back for me. It was a clear Josh Jacobs, and it was a clear Darrell Henderson at number 2 for me. And I feel pretty confident about that. I've been pretty good on my running backs over the years. So, and then Todd Gurley, it's a shame. It sounded like he has arthritis in the knee. That's something that doesn't really go away. Something you can play through, but you need this type of guy, and I love it. They take David Long, another corner. This guy's a lockdown corner from the inside routes, and he's gonna lock people down. So can play outside too. So you got some Marcus Peters on one side. Never know what's going on with him, but he's a top-tier corner for them. And then they keep Talib, who's great, but he's aging. So you add another guy here, and it was just too good to pass at pick 79. And they get Bobby Evans, not really far off. Opposite side, but not really far off from Cody Ford. So, and they definitely need another offensive lineman. So this is a guy that can definitely develop very soon. So they get 4 guys, so that's a haul, but they get some really good players on top of it. What's putting them in here is mainly those first 2 at Taylor Rapp and Darrell Henderson, but I do like those other ones. And then number 1 is clear cut here. Normally it would be looking at the Rams, like how is that not number 1? Because teams are just getting ridiculous hauls, and the same teams making the right picks. The same teams, and then same teams seem to be making the reaches here. So crazy players are dropping. The Broncos win the day, no doubt about it. They get Dalton Reisner, who I had a late first-round grade on. They get him in the second round. Drew Lock was my number 2 quarterback in the draft, and they get him in the second round, and he fits perfectly. And Draymond Jones, who I had a round 2 grade on, and I thought it was possible he went late round 2. They get him in the third, in Vic Fangio's defense there. So great draft from the Broncos. They got 3 very solid players that are going to make an impact. Maybe not Drew Lock won't make an impact right away, but he can if you need him to. But Dalton Reisner is definitely going to help protect Flacco, or if Lock's at the quarterback. So good for them. The Broncos definitely win the day. Other teams that really got good hauls, and we talked about, the next one I want to point out is the Ravens. Jalen Ferguson and Miles Boykin. It's only 2 players, but that's a heck of a draft. I love pairing Miles Boykin. I was about to make the Ravens in the top 3, but I calmed myself down because I was kind of including Marquise Brown in there, like pairing Boykin with Brown, and I was getting super excited. But this is about day 2 of this video, but still, very good job on day 2. The Patriots got 4 good players. Kajust is a solid tackle. Jawan Williams I like. Winovich, and who else they got? They got Damian Harris too. So pretty darn good haul. That usually makes its way in here, but because some teams got extreme value, the Packers I thought did a good job with Sternberg and Elton Jenkins. The Colts got a pretty good haul. 4 players on the day. Look at who else? Who else did it? The teams. Yeah, we talked about the teams with the single picks. The Bills got a pretty good haul too. A Devin Singletary a little early for me. The Bucks build up their secondary. The Dolphins were big winners with that Josh Rosen trade. I will say that. I want to give them credit. The Dolphins big winners with the Josh Rosen trade. So yeah, any other? There's a lot of picks, players that I really like. The Redskins continuing to do a good job. The Jets had a pretty good day as well. We talked about the Titans. Yeah, hopefully I mentioned everybody there because there's usually not this many. Because before making this video, I'm kind of jotting some things down, and I usually don't have as much jotted down than I do right now. Because again, teams are reaching for, I guess, needs or players that I just don't think should be anywhere near up there, and it seems to be the same teams for the most part. So then these teams they're just keep getting good players, and it's ridiculous. And there's ridiculous players still left on the board. I can't believe it. So maybe we'll talk before the draft starts tomorrow on the top players for day 3. So I can't wait. Day 3 is a great day because there's just so many picks on the last day of the draft. So hopefully everyone enjoys it. We'll be on Twitter talking about it once again. Was constantly talking tonight on Twitter about the draft. So please give us a follow there. There's our Twitter in the bottom right, link in the description as well. 20K is our subscriber goal. Almost there. Appreciate the support. Like button, much appreciated as well. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.